Welcome to the Polishing Profits Podcast, where we discuss all things related to the business of detailing. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, this podcast is for you. In each episode, we'll cover topics ranging from business management to marketing solutions. Here to help you grow your detailing business, your hosts, Nick and Dustin.
What's up? What's up?
What's up, Mr. Nick? How you doing?
So we're doing pretty good this Friday. How about you, Dustin?
Doing good. I'm sitting in went to his oyster house in Montgomery, Alabama.
Okay.
For some lunch. We're up here with the retail girls, setting up a booth here at the
Look at
Buckmasters.
that artwork behind you, though. It almost, it's very thematic for you. The boat.
It was all planned.
Yeah.
I called ahead. I had this table moved over.
Yeah, you had that art brought in.
Yeah, I did. A little bit of sunlight right here.
Yep. Just to give you that glow, that Friday glow.
That's what I do, man. It's part of planning, Nick. It's what I do. All right, man. We got a great show lined up for you. We got Scott Barber with the Barbershop. We're going to bring him on in a few minutes, and we're going to talk about a situation he's had going. He dropped it in the Detail Bookie MVP group, and I felt like, you know what, this would be a perfect topic for a podcast. We will do it. We'll talk about he happened to move shops, some situations about that shop, and then maybe bringing sales into a new shop.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. We've definitely had conversations on some of those things. I'm sure you've had some sort of inner workings with moving shops and adjusting shops to make them work for growing business. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too. It's really relevant in my world right now, and that we're doing some shop rebuild, remodel, and maybe even may even be more connected than we think. There's some options that we have coming up. So we'll see. So this is a really good conversation. I'm excited about having this conversation with him, and I think there's a lot of people as times shift, economies make moves. People may be looking for better deals. I know you mentioned in the commercial realm on your side how things are slowing down, and that's kind of happening around us too. So some opportunities may be coming out. So if you're interested in possibly looking for a shop move, this may be a time to do so.
And just throw out the Detail Bookie MVP group. You know what I mean? Because if you've got a shop, you've got a business, you're mobile, you've got questions, super helpful group. Everyone's there to help everybody out. It's and again, Dustin's there. That's the first thing that he's always jumping on within like 3 minutes of you posting. I don't know how he does it. It might just be a ChatGPT, the initial response. Who knows? No, but that's always Dustin on there. And we're always there to try and help people out. So we love people joining that and growing that from that side.
Yeah, absolutely. Love for you guys to jump in there as well if you're not in there. So, why don't we go ahead and bring Scott on?
Zap Scott in here.
How's it going, guys?
How's it going, Scott?
Can you hear me okay?
Yep, loud and clear.
We gotcha.
Scott, why don't you kind of give a little brief introduction for those people that don't know exactly who you are, and then kind of give us a synopsis of this story, what we're going to be talking about today.
Okay, yeah. So, like Dustin said, I own a detail shop in Kansas called the Barbershop, and mostly hammer out corrections, coatings, and film for the most part. Obviously, still do some interiors. I've got the interior of this truck I'm doing today, but most of it comes from the film and the coatings. So, and then kind of synopsis is I've been in this building for 3 years, I think, and going on 3 years maybe. I don't remember exactly when I moved in, but changed landlords once, and actually a customer bought the building to save me from having to move a couple years ago, and market's crazy here, and so he was able to make some good money on the building, and so I'm kind of hunting for a new spot, and so I've got kind of the ideal spot, but in a not so ideal location.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you this: were you in a different place before here?
Yeah, so kind of in the infancy of the business, I guess 5 years ago, we jumped around twice, and this was our third home. We outgrew the other two spaces as time just kind of moved, and so this was 2,200 square feet, I think, is what I've got here.
Okay.
And so now I'm kind of getting to a point with the film and things that I've been outgrowing this space as well. So, you know, kind of was time to maybe find a new location anyways, but.
So those last 2 moves that you did, were they based of just growth? Did you make that decision, right? Where you're like, hey, I got to move. I got to get, you know what I mean? I need more room. Or was it similar? Was it, you know, like this situation where you're like, oh no, I have to move?
No. So the first one was kind of we have to move. But I had been approached before by a friend that had a spot at his business that he owned. Yeah. And he wanted to know if I'd be interested in renting it. It was a bigger space, and so we didn't have to move the first time, but we were kind of feeling pinched in the first location. And so as we got busier, that was during COVID, so it was a weird time anyways. But as far as the rent went, it worked way better because it was a pay per car. We didn't pay a monthly rate.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we paid like $30 or something per car. Yeah. And so sometimes it was a loss, you know, if it was just in for a quick interior, you know, we didn't make much on those, but on the bigger jobs, you know, we still made good money and we didn't have a monthly obligation.
Yeah. That's an interesting approach.
Yeah,
I've never seen. Yeah. That's cool though. It's cool.
Yeah. It worked really well.
So let's think about this. Okay, so moving shops is nothing new to you, and it's probably about like having a root canal, I would assume, outside of the newness of going into somewhere, get to fix your, you know, the things you want to fix and start fresh. You know, there's something like, to me, starting fresh is nice. But moving has its a lot of, you know, a lot of work that's left to do. But you've done that before, so moving's not a problem. But, you know, what I'm thinking is, you know, in this perfect shop scenario, have you gone and looked at other shops? You know, are you comparing it to multiple shops and then you said this is the perfect shop, or is this like I've got to move now, this is what I found and I'm thinking it's perfect?
No, it's really not that kind of situation at all. I've looked at a few other shops, and you know, I guess I have maybe I'm a princess a little bit. I want my space to be temperature controlled. It gets really, really cold and it gets really, really hot.
Yep.
And neither of those scenarios is great with film. Like it's almost impossible. And then, you know, even the coatings, a lot of times, you know, it just goes better and it's temperature
humidity.
Yep. Yeah. And so, and humidity is huge, you know, when it's humid, it's like 100%. And so, you know, the temperature controlled makes a big difference. And a lot of the buildings that I've been looking at that you can do automotive stuff. A lot of places around here say absolutely no automotive, no way, no how.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it's an insurance thing, I guess. I'm not really sure. I don't understand that, but and then there's the opposite end where the spaces are way too big. They're not temperature controlled. They're barely even, you know, insulated. And so we go from one end to the other. And those places generally get very expensive because it's a lot of footage. So I've looked, the place that I found is fully temperature controlled and it's not just one big room.
Yeah, so let's talk about the pros of it, and then we'll talk about the cons. I think the pros of this, because we, you know, I think ideally on this podcast we're helping to make a decision, right? You want to get some feedback on what you should do as far as moving to it, if that's the decision you should make, and then getting sales in the door. So we'll talk about this. Pros to the shop. Let's hear them. So climate controlled, separation of space. You know, it's got a dedicated wash bay that's separated from the rest of the building, which is 50 foot long. So it's plenty big for even RVs and stuff like that I do. And then that's got a dehumidifier in it. So even better, right? Like it just, and then the space next door that's the other warehouse space would be perfect for coatings, corrections, and then it has the ability to even separate out further, maybe not right away, but there's a bunch of office space, and so they said, you know, do whatever you want with it. So I said, so I could rip out carpet and put like a roll-up door in the wall and make it a clean room, and they're like, absolutely, you know, whatever you want to do with the space. And so, you know, it gives me that level of separation, but it also allows me to bring in and grow, right? I would love to have somebody in that does all of my washes and interiors and bring that stuff back in house, because I hear all the time, hey man, you know, it'd be really cool if you were full service. And I'm like, well, absolutely.
You know,
that's a
tough.
conversation that's in itself, and that I think that we need, that needs to be had maybe in a later podcast. But it's a lot of us, a lot of shops have moved that maintenance style detailing and interior detailing out of their shop to accommodate coatings and PPF and film.
Yep.
All right, but the problem is as economy shift and things like that, like it's hard to justify a customer going out and make multiple stops to have their vehicle taken care of. So that's a conversation that I'm glad you brought up. We need to talk later, but so those are the great things. You got something?
Yeah, I got one thing for Scott there. Scott, where are you sort of in terms of? So you're going to move into the shop. It's better fit for you. It's a little bit larger, right?
Yeah.
In terms of that growth, is in terms of even employee infrastructure, right? Is it what I mean? Is that something where in the place you are now? I know you brought it up a little bit before the podcast. Is it you guys are staffed to handle a larger location? Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Because you'll have more room and more offerings. Or is that something where you're going to have to do that move, work on that marketing, work, sort of have all those things sort of stack on you as soon as you move? Or is it like, hey, I've got those sort of some of those ducks in a row already. So when you do that move, it's less that falls on you, because there's always so much that falls on you as soon as you do that move. Does that make sense? Did I explain that okay?
Yeah. No. Yeah, that makes total sense. So I'm solo right now. I don't have any employees currently. Man, I don't know what it is about me as a person, but I always have people call me, hey man, are you hiring? I'm like, no, not right now, and it was the same with my repair shop. I have a list of 4 or 5 mechanics waiting for me to be to a point where I need another mechanic.
Sure.
And so, that I think moving and getting help and quality help will be easy, but I'm not there right now. So the marketing will have to get spun up, and those things will have to happen. But I'm kind of ready. I guess I'm semi-prepared for it, at least.
Because I almost treat this similarly to like when you have one location, right, and you want to go to 2, right? I've had that conversation with multiple people.
Yeah.
Before you move that and you sort of, that expansion, is you almost have the staff for 2 locations in one space.
In one.
Right? So that when you do that split, now you're able to, again, there'll still be some weak points that you have to, but less, because I did that work preemptively. That's the first thing that sort of comes to mind whenever, we've dealt with it. It's just making sure that you've got that staff, because when you've got that big space and you're sort of in that, you're looking around, you're like, holy shit,
Yeah, and my thoughts go to the how much working capital do you have in reserve and runway would you have? Because when you talk about movement, you always are going to incur. You might as well go ahead and probably whatever you're estimating, double it. Like really, it's just the unknown. Those things that are going to pop up, like, oh, we got to have internet brought in, or we got to have this brought in. It's just like there's always one-off things.
The shop you're in now. You don't know your little headaches in the new place.
Power bill deposits like $1,000. Like these odd things that you're not used to having. And then you think about rolling up marketing, and marketing is 4 to 6 month return on those initial dollars. And so now, how much runway of working capital? I'm not saying dollar amount do you have, but do you have some setback, or are you prepared to be able to kind of give yourself some time to grow into that shop, or is it not an increased expense where it's going to matter?
Well, so it's kind of a net loss. I mean, it's really pretty even split. What I do here is I have a rent bill, and then it's discounted pretty heftily, and I maintain the owner's fleet. Like I said, he was a customer before. So, so really my net spend every month will be about the same as far as like trade dollars versus real dollars, but it's going to be a lot more real dollars out the door than it is right now. Having just opened that other shop, that repair shop, I've got a pretty good grasp on like what my electric bill and water bill and things like that are going to be, which is, I guess, fortunate and unfortunate. But so I've got enough, in reserve to be able to maintain and handle that, and start the slow ramp. I don't want to necessarily walk in there, because I want to get the clean room built. I want, but I also have the influx of phone calls and things like that I could start spinning up all of these interiors immediately. I probably get 4 or 5 a week where it's good money, and I'm just saying, hey, go check out that guy down the road. I trust him. He's my car, whatever it is. And so I could pretty easily turn it up if I had the space that supported it.
So I have one quick thing, Dustin, there. So let me ask you this, Scott. I think it's good to sort of look into the past or the future in a way. When you've got projects, right, what's the last project, right? You say you want to build a clean room and you want to do this, but again, you're a solo operation, which a lot of people are, and you've got cars to do. What was the last project that you sort of did at the shop that you're at, right? That could be putting up a wall or a room in an office. And how did that affect your workflow?
I mean, it doesn't. I work. The family comes.
25 acre, 25 acre
guy. Like
the same work-life balance I have.
Except my family comes with me. They come hang out at the shop and we work with projects. The wife might help. Yeah, Chelsea knows it.
She knows.
She knows. Yeah.
Chelsea's like it's lunchtime.
I know.
Yeah, right. It's why we're eating.
Yeah.
Podcast.
Yeah. So.
Oh, we got a question coming.
Cool. How many details are you getting? Yeah, how many details are you getting off the repair business? Do a lot of your customers use both services? Do you offer packages that include services? Are they at the same location? Or are they? They're separate locations?
They're very separate. I'm about 25 minutes from the other shop right now. So we don't have any real shared. I've discussed or thought about putting somebody in as an employee at the detail shop that can do those things, but the location that it's in most of my client base, at least so far, is people that use my service here. And so, everybody comes to me.
They trust.
Yeah, they trust me.
You built that relationship with them.
Right. So,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
We talked a lot about the pros. We talked about how awesome the shop is. Let's talk about what makes it not awesome. There's got to be something that you're concerned about. There's got to be some portion of this that's not ideal, or you would have not had a question. You'd have just done it.
Right. Yeah. So it's location, right? Everybody says location, and it's yeah. And so the part of town it's in isn't. It's not the best. It's kind of where a lot of the homeless population and there's not a lot of actual theft or damage or anything. Like if you look at a crime map, there's really nothing within a 3 or 4 block radius. But there's just a lot of foot traffic that's scary.
Not your customers.
You're
surrounded by not your customers.
Right. And so, that's okay because again, I've built that rapport with all of my current customers. They don't care where I'm at. They go to a very rough part of town to get their cars oil changed and serviced.
That's what I was going to ask. Is it an area of town that everybody avoids? Like when I think of not ideal. So my location, you wouldn't know that it was a detail shop. It is not an ideal high traffic. I mean, we're in the middle of 6.5 acres. You drive past the property, you wouldn't know it's a detail shop at all. Now, but we're not in a scary part of town either. Like nobody's avoiding us. They just don't know us. But until we reach them in marketing and we build that customer base. Is this like a part of town where people avoid, or is it just like, okay, it's just kind of it's not the best, but we'll go there anyway?
I would say that most people, there's not a lot that people need to go there for. So it's not necessarily that it's an avoided part of town, but there's nothing there that's not close to their house.
From where you're at?
It's probably a 15 minute drive from where I'm at right now. And so like right now I'm in a small it's a large suburb of Wichita. Okay. And so there's the people that live here don't usually leave except to go to work. The city has everything that they could ever need or want. And so the new area is, close to downtown. It's close to a lot of those people's work. It's kind of close to the hub, but as all downtowns go, it's not always the best. And the other biggest thing is the proximity to other detail shops that offer similar services. Down here, I'm the lone wolf. I'm the only one here. And so it's very easy to obtain that business from the community because there's no choices. Up there, I'm a lot closer to what people call competitors. They're not competitors.
Yeah, sure.
We hang out and talk. So, it's not so much a concern of stealing the show or taking over business, but just, most people just don't go there. So they usually
trays in there.
I know. Yeah.
People are wondering, Dustin, what did you order? It's every show. We got to know. Just what did we order?
It's blackened mahi, turnip greens, and some cheese curds.
Okay. Thank you.
So yeah, sorry, Scott. It's just what we do.
I like it.
So the first thing
We try and have a decent podcast here, and he's over there just
Scott knows he's doing 75 hard. He knows the struggle, man. You got to eat when you can, dude. I'm starving.
That's a fact. Yeah.
So first thing I heard, when I hear that there's other detailers in the area, I hear that there's detailing needs in that area. Walgreens, CVS, they all pile on the same corner because they bring the market to them, and it works, right? So when I hear other detailers in that area, I hear people aren't scared to go there for a detail. And so that immediately starts to tell me that, hey, this is an area that I would probably consider in that for that reason. There are enough cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, campers, planes in this, in this world that we can all do them, and 100% more of us detailers probably couldn't do them. So I don't think competition is your concern there. I think it's actually probably a thing that removes one of the cons from that is location. Location doesn't seem that bad if there's other detailers, that are now if these are car washes or if this is like your under a carport car wash, totally different style detailing, then you may want to come back and
Scott, the one thing I throw out is that when you're starting a new business, I think both me and Dustin would probably push a little harder, to say, hey, you don't have that reputation, people don't know the barber shop, then it's a little bit of a different situation. Because you're moving, relocating, are you going to have, it's fixed. By moving, there's some sort of inconvenience that's created. There's going to be a certain drop-off of current customers, but there'll be an influx of new customers. They're like, oh, that place wasn't there before. It's closer. It shows up on Google Maps, the SEO, there's a lot of those other factors that come into play.
Right.
If your concern is more, like you said, not the best part of town, that reputation that, if you're in that suburb and it's a nice area and you sort of like being there. I think you brought up a really good point of doing that sort of pickup drop-off service. If you're doing high-end PPF and ceramic coatings, right, and that's going to be your bread and butter there, okay, then do the pickup drop-off. Work it into the price. They're never going to have to see where it's at, but they're going to get to see the amazing quality of work. And that's going to speak the volumes. Go ahead.
Yeah, and what you're talking about there is friction in the customer journey. So in that process of, hey, I would use you, but I really don't like to go to that smart town, or that's out of my way, or whatever. You remove that friction out of the customer journey, then it's easy for a customer to make that decision. So just like you got saying, pick up, drop off. Hey, look, we're coming to get it. We're going to drop it off. They don't. Who cares where I go next? We're insured. We're going to take care of this. You built that relationship. They know that you're going to take care of the vehicle. You took that pain out of it, that friction, and so it's an easier sell. So again, these are all great things to go into that new location that's taken away those cons.
And I might be in the minority, but that zip code, or that when you put your address and the name of the town, right? Every name of every town has a certain connotation, I guess you could say, right? Good or bad. I believe in that pretty strongly. Now I do a lot of hand wash maintenance, those sort of things where it's very important for me. But I'd love to sort of hear your guys' point of view on just the name of the town that you're in and how that affects your business. And it's different now than it was before because of the online presence. I think that's a real reality.
Scott, how do you feel the name of the town would affect you?
Obviously it's going to affect me, right? Like I'm in a pretty high class suburb of the main city. But also, nobody's ever heard, everybody hears about Wichita State University, whatever it is, when you talk about Wichita, people know that city. So largely the connotation is not terrible in my scenario, right? Whereas, if I was moving to Derby, it would be a big plus, but only because they're like, oh, well, that's a really, really rich part of town or whatever, you don't even feel the difference.
It's so funny. I had this conversation with my team a few months ago, and we were taking a step up and we were taking our shop to the next level. We're bringing in tent and films, and we're doing some things that we're gonna really just multiply this, our shop. And the first thing that was brought up was, well, is our location able to support that? Because we're in kind of I hate to call it country, but it's not in downtown. It's not where people are. It's a nicer part of town, but it's just not downtown where you think of all the money is, right? And I said, here's the thing: is location means nothing to us. We bring people from all around. Our community, they support us minimally. Our business comes from within 100-mile radius and sometimes more. They all come to us. Like all of it. We don't have a sign at the road. We don't have windows in our building. Like you would not know that we are a detail shop. So, when people say, well, I would spend $5,000 with this or that, but I'm not going to Saraland. That doesn't happen. We sell on our, our address is just our address. We sell on our services and our relationships and stuff. Absolutely. I do think, not to take Nick, I understand what you're saying too.
No, yeah. But, and I'll even switch it, Dustin, because you just opened up a new retail store, right?
Yes.
How did that decision go into where
we put it in a dying part of town. There's literally closing businesses everywhere, but it's an area in which I know that's a main thoroughfare, and it's our customer base. And there's no one else around like it. So we went out. We're leap of faith here, but just in being there, it's
your customer base, right?
100%, and we know we can bring them in because we're already bringing people from that community to our store, which is not happening. So we look at things. We look at it. What does that? We don't look at that. What does that location do for us? What are we going to do for that location? We're bringing people in. We're the ones that people are coming to see. Not we're hoping that they notice us here. Oh no, you're going to notice us.
Yeah. Oh, Dustin will be out there waving a sign. They'll notice I'm going down.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. Yeah.
All right. So in the initial post was about bringing people in the doors and marketing. Here's the thing is, that happens on all fronts through social media, through web traffic, through Google, through website, and making sure all that's dialed in, because you're going to have to hit it on all fronts. But calls putting an open sign in the glass window is not going to bring everything in to pay the bills. Then you got to take your marketing needs to be the window into your store, right? And so that's where it's going to have to be, and probably what's got you to where you are now isn't what's going to get you to that next step.
No, that's a really good way. That's your good quote of the day, Dustin.
I got a better one. Controlled chaos is the ladder to success. I heard it this morning.
It was forced. Look how he's jumped into the camera there. You have to let it be natural.
I heard it this morning. I'm going to share it on my thing.
You wrote that shit down yesterday.
I heard it this morning. Who told me? I got it in my notes.
If I don't give him a hard time, who's going to give Dustin a hard time?
I know. I love it. All right, no, but seriously, let's so we got to kind of wrap it up. Scott, I mean, any further?
Yeah, I want to hear some questions from Scott, sort of like based on sort of this road we went down, right? Sort of trying to get a better understanding, throwing some things out at you. What are some of those little lingering questions that maybe popped up that you didn't have before chatting?
Man, I mean, honestly, it kind of it was solidified. Kind of, I spoke briefly about it. I've reached out to several of my what I consider business mentors, and so they've all made me do the same thing. The pluses, minuses, and it's a me problem. It's not. I don't think it's so much a business problem. It's a me thing that I have to get over because it's a big commitment, right? And going into it, money, and having just done that and made a big commitment, I'm kind of, I'm like, God, I don't really want to do it, and so the putting it into perspective about the location, maybe it's not so bad, and just that unbiased opinion or thought on it is helpful.
Nick and I probably differ the most in our answer to that piece, because I'm like, there's never a perfect time, and you're never going to have the perfect budget, and you're never going to have the million at the bank ready to make the move. Those deals don't happen when that happens, by the way. Those deals happen when you have nothing in the bank and you have no way to do it, and you go, I've got to figure this out. I've burned the boat, you know what I'm saying, and go for it. And that's my approach every single time. Is the opportunity's there, I'll figure it out.
Yep. Yeah. And then meanwhile, I'm over here constantly searching. You know what I mean? So it's a thing where I always remove the urgency in any decision. You know what I mean? Because whenever there's urgency, there's always going to be some sort of blowback. So even if things are good, right? Let's say that building didn't sell. You know what I mean? But you're looking for the future and saying, hey, is this the perfect scenario? And then finding that right location over the years, over the time. You know what I mean? To say, hey, I'm ready to move when the right fit is for me, not when I have to move. And that's just how I like to operate. There's nothing wrong with either way. I like, again, swinging for that home run is how you get to where you're at. You know what I mean?
Sure. Absolutely.
So I think again, based on talking to you, I think you're ready for it. You're going to knock it out of the park. Just at least give you a different perspective of, sort of how different people make decisions there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's just, like I said, it was just, I just let it bother me probably way more than anybody else ever will.
Yeah, you're emotionally attached to it. It's your money. It's your life. It's your on the wall, and so it's easy for us to say if they do it,
Yeah. And it's just,
he's got his food
I would have already done it. I would have already done it.
Dustin be in there already. He'd be slinging out of there.
Oh, we'd be detailing right there, right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just been one of those years so far that, it seems like I haven't had a break. And Dustin, you and I have talked about that, started out the year this way. And so it's just kind of that compounding effect of each thing that I'm doing is kind of like, is this the right choice? Am I doing the right thing? And so that helps.
Good,
whatever your path is to making those decisions, as long as you're consistent with it and adjusting it, you know what I mean? So whatever that, you're your own worst critic on all these things. You know what I mean? You're going to take in this input from all these different people, but what is your process to, whether it's switching, polishers or switching brands with PPF, right? What is your process with that? Use that same process for all your decisions,
Yeah. Well, and I've already researched it to death, so I follow the same business plan that I always do.
Yeah,
so
don't
then
get
you're going to make that right call. Then there's no, that's why you're successful, and that's why you are where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. We have a couple comments. Chris, you want to roll them up? This is Rob again. Scott Barber, I'd love to have the conversation about sales and how I dealt with a lot of the same pain points in my old shop. I was able to turn a small location in a not so desirable part of town into a parking lot full of show trucks and exotics on a daily basis. Did it with marketing adjusting those pain points. So Rob is our sales manager now. He owned and ran a shop local to our area on the other side of town, and he's absolutely right. It wasn't, it's just probably the same concept as far as distance from where you think the money is in our town.
Sure.
And he ran a really good shop there, and he brought in hyper creative marketing. He was
awesome.
Always very creative in his style. So I think he'll make himself available here for jump on the phone with him. I know Madison too would love to talk to you. There you go. It's marketing. There you go.
We may have a meeting at 2 today. So
fantastic. Yeah, just getting other opinions and ideas. Madison's gonna talk to you about what you may want to do, and then if it makes sense to keep talking to her, do that. And if not, just go to work.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, Rob, I would love to chat with you, man. Cool. Anybody, any input. So
yeah. Awesome, man. Appreciate it as always. Great conversation, Scott. We're going to drop you off, and Nick will close out the show.
Cool.
All right.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, guys. That was some help, brother. Good seeing you.
Yeah, good seeing you too.
What a cool guy,
man.
And you know what's crazy? It's like he's probably have some stress about that situation. But what an
But don't you know-
exciting, what an exciting thing to be at.
Yeah, and make sure to celebrate that. I'm so guilty of just doing it and forget to celebrate.
Yeah, you're numb
So,
to it,
like,
Dustin.
that's
You don't
why.
even get that rush anymore.
I just get the stress of it.
You-
All right, man. I'm eating my. It's getting cold over there. I'm
yeah,
ready to eat.
yeah. We tried to hold you here hostage just so we could
You
get as
did.
cold as possible.
I saw what you were doing. Trust me. All right, great
Uh,
show as always. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate everyone watching, listening.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll be back next Friday.
See you next week.
Appreciate it.